I thought I had finally figured it out until the moment I met them and felt something I didn't expect. Not excitement, not relief, just discomfort. And that's when everything started to feel off. For most of my adult life, I believed in patterns. Not the kind you read about in books, but the kind you quietly notice after enough experiences. The same type of relationship, the same emotional rhythm, the same ending. It wasn't obvious at first. At 22, I thought I was just unlucky. At 25, I told myself I needed better communication. By 28, I started wondering if maybe it was me. Not in a dramatic, self-blaming way, more like a quiet realization that something in my thinking, my perception, was guiding my decisions without me fully noticing. That's when I got into the idea of manifestation. Not the trendy version, not vision boards or repeating phrases. I approached it more like a psychological experiment. I started asking myself simple questions. What kind of person do I believe I deserve? What kind of relationship feels familiar to me? And more importantly, what am I unconsciously expecting? Because if your expectations shape your decisions, then maybe they shape your outcomes too. So I got specific. Not about looks or surface level traits, but about behavior, emotional availability, consistency. I wrote things down. I reflected. I adjusted how I responded to people. It wasn't instant, but over a few months, something shifted. I stopped feeling drawn to the same kind of emotional chaos. I noticed red flags earlier. I didn't feel the urge to chase attention or over-explain myself. For the first time, I felt stable, clear, and honestly, a little proud of the progress. That's when I met Alex. It happened in the most normal way possible. A mutual friend's small gathering. Nothing special, no dramatic first impression. We talked briefly, just casual conversation, but there was something different. Alex listened, not in a performative way, but in a calm, present way that made the conversation feel easy. No interruptions, no trying to impress, just attention. I remember thinking, this feels healthy, and that thought stayed with me longer than anything else. We exchanged numbers. A few days later, we met for coffee, then again and again. Everything about it was steady. No mixed signals, no emotional highs and lows. If Alex said they'd call, they called. If we made plans, they showed up. And for the first time, I felt like I was experiencing the kind of relationship I had been trying to manifest. It should have felt perfect, but something didn't sit right. It started small, subtle enough that I almost ignored it. I'd notice a slight discomfort when things went too smoothly, a quiet urge to question things that didn't need questioning. Sometimes I'd catch myself waiting for something to go wrong even when there was no reason to. I remember one specific moment. We were sitting in Alex's car after dinner. Nothing significant had happened. It was just quiet, comfortable. And then out of nowhere, I felt this tension. Not from anything Alex did, but from inside me. My mind started scanning. Are they really this consistent? Is this going to change later? Am I missing something? It didn't make sense. There were no red flags, no inconsistencies, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. And that confused me more than anything. Because wasn't this exactly what I wanted? Over the next few weeks, that feeling grew stronger. Not overwhelming, but persistent. Like a background noise I couldn't turn off. I started analyzing my own reactions. Why did stability feel unfamiliar? Why did calmness feel slightly uncomfortable? And then one night, something happened that made everything click. We had a small disagreement. Nothing serious, just a difference of opinion about something minor. In my past relationships, this kind of moment would usually escalate. it would turn into over-explaining, defensiveness, or emotional tension. But this time, Alex stayed calm. They listened. They responded thoughtfully. No raised voice, no withdrawal, just understanding. And in that moment, I didn't know how to respond. I felt this unexpected frustration rising in me, not because of the situation, but because the pattern I was used to wasn't happening. There was no emotional intensity to react to, no conflict to solve, just a calm conversation. And in that moment, I realized something that made me uncomfortable. I didn't just expect chaos in relationships. I was used to it, maybe even attached to it in a way I never noticed. That realization stayed with me. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some big emotional breakdown. It was quieter than that, more like a shift in perspective. I started noticing how my past experiences had shaped my idea of what connection felt like. I associated intensity with depth, uncertainty with attraction, emotional highs and lows with passion. So when something stable came along, it didn't feel exciting. It felt unfamiliar, almost like something was missing. But nothing was missing. It just wasn't what I was used to. That changed how I saw everything. My decisions, my reactions, even my idea of manifestation. I realized that I hadn't just been trying to attract a different kind of person. I had been slowly changing the way I perceived relationships. And that change came with a side effect I didn't expect: discomfort. Not because something was wrong, but because something was different. Over time, I stopped fighting that feeling. Instead of trying to fix it or analyze it constantly, I just observed it. When I felt the urge to question things, I'd pause. When I felt that familiar tension, I'd ask myself, is this coming from reality or from habit? And most of the time, it was habit. A pattern I had repeated for so long that it felt normal. Breaking it didn't feel exciting. It felt strange. Alex never changed. They stayed consistent. And slowly, that consistency stopped feeling uncomfortable. Not because it became exciting, but because it became real, grounded, predictable in a way that felt safe instead of boring. And that's when I understood something I hadn't fully grasped before. Manifestation isn't just about getting what you want. It's about becoming someone who can recognize it when it shows up. Because sometimes the right thing doesn't feel right at first. Not because it's wrong, but because it doesn't match your past experiences. Looking back, nothing dramatic happened. There was no big turning point in the relationship itself. The real shift happened inside me, in the way I understood my own reactions, my own expectations, my own patterns. I used to think I was trying to find the right person, but what I was really doing was learning how to see clearly, without projecting old experiences onto new situations, without confusing familiarity with truth. And maybe that's the part no one really talks about. When you finally get what you've been asking for, it might not feel the way you imagined. It might feel quieter, less intense, even a little uncomfortable at first. But maybe that discomfort isn't a sign that something's wrong. Maybe it's just a sign that something is new. Now, when I think about that moment in the car, the silence, the tension, the questions, I see it differently. That wasn't doubt. It was adjustment. My mind trying to catch up with a reality it wasn't used to yet. And sometimes I wonder, how many good things do we question? Not because they're wrong, but because they don't match what we've experienced before.